Calm yourself down. Pour slowly, Andy. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel, CCUK Resin. And you can ignore this piece, I just thought I'd show it you. It's a piece I'm working on for a Sci-fi collaboration later on in the month, and I think it's coming out really cool. It's nearly there, a couple more stages, but just look at that Millennium Falcon. Stunning piece. So hopefully it's going to turn out really cool, and you can just see that sort of alien rock formation as well in the background. So there we go. But this video isn't about that. I've been doing a lot of big projects recently, and I wanted to do something smaller, but I did a couple of Petri experiments and everything was blobbing. And I'm so glad Daniel Cooper did a video a few weeks back about their 48 ink set, and you get 4 different white sinkers in there, and they're all at different levels. And I think that's why I've been getting more blobbing. I thought I was going absolutely crazy and I didn't remember how to do the Petri effect. So we're going to play with Petri again in this one, but I want to see if I can make my own sea deeper using this Sinker White. Now this is a heavier version, and you can buy the sea deeper in big boxes. I don't have any, so I wanted to see if I could get this beautiful Petri effect that we all know and love thanks to Daniel, and see if I could do it with a Sinker White and maybe get some slightly different effects. I don't know at this point. So I've got a big box of the Sinker White. Now this is far too heavy to try Petri on its own, but I've got some 99% alcohol by the side of me. And I've got 4 needle tip bottles, and I thought it'd just be an interesting experiment to see what different effects we might be able to get with their Sinker White. And it's not the sea deeper, which is the one that, oh, that one is the sea deeper. Hang on, I have got a sea deeper. So let's use the proper stuff, the sea deeper, and create. Oh, wow, I didn't even know that. Look, it comes with its own needle tip bottles. Well, in that case, how many have I got? 1, 2, 3. You get 3 needle tip bottles and 2 funnels. So you do get a Sinker White. No, they're both called Sea Deeper, so maybe they are the right product. I don't know, but there we go. They are Sea Deeper. So got it in these big bottles, and I wanted to play around with different amounts of this Sea Deeper Sinker White and alcohol mixture to see what effects we get. I'm going to do it in the larger bottles, just because that way if I like it, I know which bottle to use next time. So I'm not the most scientific of people. So I'm looking at these pipettes, and they've got sort of up to 3 mil on there. So I'm probably going to go with 3 mil, 6 mil, and that's a different size bottle, I've just noticed. That could, in fact, let's just do 3 for now. Let's do 3 and see what effects we get. So I'm going to go with 3, and they come with these handy little funnels, which is great for when you're pouring. And I'm going to go completely unscientific. And these are 30 ml bottles, so the bigger bottles, guys. I want some at that level. Like that. Now the next bottle, I want twice as much. So again, I'm eyeballing this, but I'm doing it with a Sharpie, so hopefully the line will stay on there. So that's pretty much twice as much, I think, looking at that. And I think this is going to be the best one, the one where we use less, but we'll see. Because I am going to be mixing this with alcohol. So technically, the Sea Deeper on its own should be good. I'm just wondering, actually. Should I do one? Let's do 100%, 150%, 125%. That's going to be easier maths. See if we can wipe that off. And we can't. So we'll go 25%, which I estimate is, there's 50. I'd say that there is roughly 25%. We'll call this 25% as a bottle. There we go. Not the greatest writing, but there we go. We'll call this one 50%. About halfway, without smudging it everywhere. But this, so I'm just playing around at this point, 50%. And this one, we're going to leave 100%. Again, we're just going to see what happens with these different colors. So this is going to be an interesting experiment. I've got some ball bearings as well, just 4 mil ball bearings. So I'm going to put 2 of those in each. And I didn't realize I'd actually got the right CD Pro. I was going to do this just with the Sinker White, but if I've got the right one, technically 100% should give us a perfect result. Let's put 3 in each because they are bigger bottles. These are the 30ml bottles. But this way, you can almost customize, I'm thinking, the Petri effect that you want. And that's what I'm going to try and do. And I think sometimes the fainter Petri works great in pieces. Sometimes the heavier Petri does. So that's what I'm hoping to be able to get. So that every time I do a Petri project, I'll have a choice of 3 different Sinker Whites. And we'll see which one I like the most. So goodbye, Sinker White. In fact, they are both CD per. So we could be okay here. But yeah, and again, they're much better value in these big boxes than having to buy the 48 alcohol set each time. So I'm just going to give this a really good shake for a few minutes. And you can hear it's got a ball bearing in it. But I really want to shake it well for at least 5 minutes. So none of that pigment, you can almost see it on the base. None of that pigment is left at the bottom. You can see it almost building up there. I'm going to speed it up. But I am going to give it a really good shake. And I say that first bottle is going to be 100% CD per. The next one is going to be 50%, and the next one is going to be 25% with alcohol. And you don't need to go to the gym when you work with resin art, guys. Just do this. Right, so we're back after I've been shaking this off screen for about 5 minutes, and that is probably as mixed as it's going to get, guys. So pretty confident we should have it mixed. And as you can see, I've not even opened this yet. And I have cleaned my workspace, so I don't want to get this everywhere. Oh, there we go. Had a little explosion because I've shaken it. Just going to grab some kitchen roll. Oh, nothing ever goes right when you film. Here we go. So let's just use a wipe as we take that off. There we go. And I can put that back in afterwards, so I'm going to save that. So this one is going to be 100%, so that's pretty straightforward. We're just going to fill the bottle. Oh, and there we go. And it still goes everywhere. So actually, the pipette might be a better option, guys. Oh, what a mess. Maybe it's just when it's full you get that problem. Then let's try and do it slowly now. And I'm still getting some everywhere. Oh dear. If we can get in a mess with resin, I normally find the best way. And then before I do the next ones, I'm going to shake it up again. There we go. So that one is 100%. Happy with that. I'm not happy I'm getting it all over my workspace, but hey ho. I'm just going to put the lid back on before I move on to the next one. And we're going to do the next bottle before I get in an absolute mess all over my nice clean workspace that I've just cleaned. But hey ho, it'll come off with a bit of alcohol in a minute. So that's the first one. Just going to give it a quick shake again, just to make sure it's all mixed. And then the next one I'm going to go with is this one on the left, which is 25%. So I only want to fill it 25% of this CD per mixture. And it's definitely easier using the pipette, guys. So if you've got a pipette, it's a lot cleaner. One more of them. And I think we're almost at the line. But the good thing is, if I like one of these effects, because I've got the line on there, I'm going to be able to just refill the bottle every time it runs out. And then the next one is going to be the 50%er. So this one's to go about halfway. And let me know what you think is going to happen. Are we going to get any different Petri effects with this? Or are we just going to get the same effect? Because we are using the same product, which is the CD per. I think it's just an interesting experiment. And I do love my Petri, but if I'm being honest, I was put off by that because of the amount of blobs I was getting every time. And it's because of the inconsistency in those Sinker Whites that are in that box. So don't get disheartened. And thank you, Daniel Cooper, for pointing it out, because without that, I might not have done Petri again. I was that put off that every time I was getting blobs and I couldn't understand why. Now I do. So there we go. So next, I'm just going to fill these to the same level with some 99% isopropyl alcohol. I've had to switch my air purifier off for this because it will go wild when it smells the alcohol. Again, just going to try and fill these. Well, the alcohol goes in a bit better like this. There we go. So that is the 50% one full. 25% one, sorry. And then this one is the 50%. Beautiful. I'm happy that they're all full now. So we've got 100%, we've got 50%, and we've got 25%. And whilst I've got the alcohol out, easiest way to clean this white off my mat is going to be a drop of alcohol, hopefully, and then just give it a wipe. So here we go. And then all I'm going to do is mix up some resin. I've got the Apex standard curing resin by the side of me, so that's what I'm going to use. And then we're going to shake these up. We're going to try some different Petri effects with these different sinker whites that we've just created and see what happens. So now I've done it with alcohol, I'm just going to wipe it with a kitchen towel. I'll see you guys in a second once I've got some resin mixed up. So as I said, guys, I'm just going to be using the standard Apex resin, high gloss finish resin here. And I want quite a few for this experiment. So I've got 3 of my jewelry mats out and we're going to pretty much fill them all, I think. So I'm going to mix up, let's have a look. I'm going to do 6 ounces worth anyway. So 2 ounces per jewelry mold and see what we get. And I'm going to put it through the debubbler. And then when we come back, we're going to pour this resin, drop those inks. Then we get to wait an hour afterwards before we start doing the stir and things like that. But we're going to drop the ink straight away. And that's my favorite bit. So I'll see you in a sec. And don't forget, if you want any of this Apex resin, it's fantastic resin. Get over to apexresin.co.uk and use my discount code CCUK to get yourself some money off. And whilst I'm here as well, massive shout out to Daniel Cooper. He's been a massive inspiration of mine since I came into resin art. He's a fantastic artist. So if you're not already watching his videos, which most of you probably are, but if you're not, go over and subscribe to his channel. And if you like the content as well, subscribe to this one as well. It's free. It helps us all grow together. So here we go. I've got 6 ounces of resin. I've got 3 different mats. And this is the fun part. I am going to speed it up though, so it's not a 3-hour video. I'm going to fill up the molds that I like the most, which tend to be the bigger ones, if I'm being honest, on each of these, and then see what we've got left. So let's go with these big ones first. And you do want them almost full, but not quite. I normally like to leave, I don't know, about 2 mil at the top. And try and make sure you've got clean molds when you're doing this as well. Because if you get a piece that you absolutely love, there's going to be nothing worse than having a bit of glitter or random something from a previous pour in there. And trust me, I've done that before. So I'm going to start off by filling the big ones on all of them and seeing what resin I've got left. And then we're just going to have fun dropping inks in a random order and play with these whites, because that's what it's all about. It's about seeing if we can make our own sinker white mixture and maybe get 3 different Petri effects. I don't know. But that's what this is all about. It's what resin's all about for me. It's just about experimenting, having fun and seeing what happens. It's either going to work or it isn't. So again, I'm just doing the big ones for now because I want to make sure that I've got all of those filled because they are my favorites. And you will find when you start using these jewelry molds, you will have your favorites. And some of these are a bit worse for wear, but they still get great pieces. And if needs be, if they're a little bit, I don't know, not as shiny as they should be, we can always come back afterwards and top coat them or dip them. And again, just to say, I'm no expert on Petri, and everything I've learned, I have pretty much learned from Daniel Cooper. So if you don't follow him, go and follow him. He's a great resin artist, a great guy, and he's truly passionate about what he does. So go over there and follow him as well as me. That's what this space should be about. All of us growing together, learning together, so that hopefully people don't make the same mistakes. And that's why I was so glad I watched that video he did, because I genuinely thought I'd forgotten how to do Petri, or I was doing something wrong. And it turns out that in that box, the sinker whites that come are very different consistencies. So some of them are too heavy and they're just going to blob, which is not the effect I like in Petri. Calm yourself down. Pour slowly, Andy. And there we go. They're all poured. Now it's time for the fun bit, dropping some inks. And I've got random ink spread around me. And I'm just going to go with the flow and see what happens. So I'm going to start off with yellow. I do love yellow. Again, no particular order. I'm just dropping it in wherever I feel like. Not all in the same space, not all in the same piece. I'm going to put a yellow in each of these though, just so I know which ones are filled. And this is genuinely what I just call having a play, guys. You're not going to know what's going to happen until you demold your pieces. So now before we go in with that sinker white, I'm going to go in with the 25%. In fact, no, I'll go in with the 100% one first. Always give it a good shake. And I'm going to try and do, just not overdo it. Maybe 2 drops, 3 drops, 4 drops in the bigger ones. Because again, I tend to find that if you get more than 1 drop in one space, that's when you tend to have bigger problems with things like blobs. So that's the 100% mixture. So that should be the mixture that gives us the perfect results, but we'll see. And this is the bit I absolutely love about Petri, is just watching those colours intermix and dance. So this was the 50% mixture, and we're going to do the same. And that shouldn't match that if we go a little bit heavier with this one, because it's only 50% of the mixture, remember. But I do want to make sure that every part of these pieces is covered. I think that's all of those. That's the 50% mixture. Now let's do the 25% mixture. And this already looks a lot fainter, guys. So I think we're going to get a very, very faint Petri with this. And let's be honest, it has been watered down quite a bit. And I think that is pretty much it for this point. So I'm going to leave these for about an hour, and then we're going to come back and do a swirl on some of them and see what we get at the end of it. So I hope you're enjoying the experiment, and I'll see you guys in about an hour. So we are back, guys, and I just wanted to give you a bit of a close-up of the differences I can already see before we stir these. So it's been about an hour, so the resin should be stringy. Now this is the 25% bottle on these ones. And it does look a little bit more like a watercolour intermix, so that's interesting. This one's the 50%. Again, we've got some really interesting colours happening there and mixing and blending. And then this is the 100%. And I think you'll see there is a massive difference, I think, already in each. But now, what we're going to do is stir them, because it's been about an hour. They should be ready. I'm just going to test the resin a little bit and show you what I mean. So I'm going to go for this one on the edge. I've got a toothpick because I like the toothpick. And we're just going to see. There we go. We've got a bit of string happening there. I could probably leave them a little bit longer, actually. There's a little bit of string, but not as much as I'd like. So I'm going to leave these for another 10 minutes, and then we'll come back and do the stir. So I'm going to swirl these in fast speed, then we'll just leave them for 24 hours, and then we'll demold and see if we've got a difference between these different white mixtures. So there we go, guys. That is pretty much done now. They're all stirred, but I think it's important to say as well, the way the sinker works will depend on what resin you use as well. So think about the viscosity of your resin when you're doing anything like this, and make sure that you get the right effect for you. And we're going to go leave these 24 hours, then we're going to demold. So we're back, and interestingly, had a few audio issues. So we're going to actually demold these together. So we've got the 25%, the 100%, and the 50%. So I'm going to do them in the right order, and we're going to demold the 100% ones first, and they look so cool on the back. Hopefully you'll agree. I think these big ones are going to be amazing. So I'm going to leave those till the end. Let's look at these tiny ones. A little bit blobby, but you can't really judge it on that because there's not a lot of resin in these. Let's do the small hearts next. Just focus, and not too keen on these. again, I think there's been some blobbing, and this is just the 100% C deeper. It's a little bit too heavy in these pieces for me, but you will find as well, it works slightly different in different size molds. Now this one again, had it not been for that heaviness around the edge, I love this one. But it looks like we are getting some of those blobs in this. So whether that's because the C deeper itself is too heavy, or whether it's because the resin I'm using is slightly thinner, I don't know at this point. And again, this one that I didn't stir, I still think it looks really good, but you can still see there's a couple of dots here where it's just blobbed a little bit. And this almost looks like a coral ocean seabed to me when you don't actually mix it. Look at that. Stunning piece though. I still like that one. I don't think it spoilt it too much. But again, there was still a couple of spots of blobbing. This one again, a little bit too heavy for my liking at the sides. But you can see that amazing Petri effect in there. The feathering, the little spores, that's what makes Petri special, you know? This one as well, too heavy. I just think it was far too heavy for me with that 100% C deeper. But again, just don't give up on it, guys. Keep playing with it. Keep testing it until you get your Petri your way. Again, this one, a little bit too heavy for me. Not too keen on it. And some people prefer this look. That's fine. For me personally, again, this one, it would have been stunning had it not have been for those sides being a little bit heavier. But let me know your thoughts in comments. I'd be intrigued to know how many people prefer this heavier effect like this. And it is like a galaxy swirling alien form or something like that in your resin. It's such a cool effect. And I think once you start playing with Petri, you never look back. Love the colors in this one, but again, for me, just too heavy. Too many blobs in there for my liking. Let's go to these bigger circles. Wow. Again, I love this. But again, there's still that tiny bit of blobbing. I love the ribbon effect in it, but just too many blobs. Same with this one. And this one almost looks like there's an embryo in it. I don't know if you can see it. Or a bean or something like that in the center of it. And then there's this one again. Look at those blobs though. It kind of spoils it for me, this heavier blobbing. And if I'm being honest, I think all of these are going to be like this. So yeah, not too happy with the 100% sinker with this particular resin. I just think it blobs too much. So hopefully we're going to get some better results in the other ones, but I'm still hopeful for the big pieces. Again, that is just all blobs. Look at that in the teardrop. Let's have a look at these squares and see if they're any better. Again, that is cool, but it wasn't quite the Petri effect I'm looking for. It's too heavy still. And then this one that I didn't stir, again, I think it's very cool, but you can still see that blobbing around the edges. A little bit too heavy. Here we go. Big ones. Please be good. And again, even in these big ones, look at that a little bit too much. The ribbon effect has gone a little bit too heavy on it, and you kind of miss that short feathering effect that we like. And the same with this one. It's such a shame because I love the colors in this. It's absolutely stunning. It's just a little bit too heavy. And that was the 100% C deeper. So let me know what you think about these. I personally think they're a little bit too heavy. So the next ones we're going to do are the 25% one, which should be the lightest Petri effect. And we're going to see if we've got any different effect from those. So here's the small ones. And already it doesn't look quite as heavy. There's a little bit on the sides, but I'm hopeful with this. I would say that's pretty much fine Petri, but there's still a tiny bit at the edge. So we're going to see on the bigger ones. Is it going to work? This was just 25%, remember? Not too keen on the green, but I think it was Petri in there. Let's see if we can get a better piece. Yes. And yes, I can just about see the Petri in that one. Let's go for some of the bigger pieces. Wow. Now that is what I've been waiting for. Just that fine feathering Petri effect. Look at that. Beautiful. So I'm happy with that one. Oh, wow. And this one. They just seem to be getting better now. Look at those colours, though, and look at that fine Petri feathery effect that we've all grown to love. And remember, this is just using 25% of that sea deeper. Oh my, look at this. We've got a heart within a heart. I don't know if you saw that, but look, there's almost an upside down heart in the centre. And this is probably more ribboning than Petri, but you can still see the feathering in there. So I love that one. Let's do this other heart. Wow. And again, this is one that I didn't stir. And I love that. Just the way that it's like that little feathery Petri. Beautiful. Let's do these two circles next. And that is beautiful. This one as well, you can just see that faint Petri feathering away, and those colours work really well together. So I like those. I think we're getting much better results from this batch. Oh my, look at that for a piece of Petri. That is absolutely stunning, and not a blob yet in these bigger pieces. And look at that. Absolutely stunning. These are definitely, compared to the first batch, these are 10 times better. And look at that. That is just, that's what Petri is for me. It's that beautiful effect. It's that light feathering with those colours all intermixed. That is about as perfect as you can get in my mind. Absolutely stunning piece. That's going to look amazing in a pendant. And wow, look at that. These two, they're just perfect. That is what I call perfect Petri. Great combination of colours, light feathering, looks absolutely stunning. Can't wait for these big ones. Again, slightly different, but no blobs. I don't know if you noticed them, but there's not any blobs on these. A little bit on the edge, but look at that. That is just beautiful. And I hope you're not getting bored. I never get bored demolding Petri. Absolutely stunning. And even these teardrops, remember how blobby they were in that first batch? Look, there's virtually no blobbing in these. Slightly overpoured this one. But yeah, beautiful pieces. Do these last small ones and then we'll move on to the big ones. Do you think they're going to be amazing or not? Let's find out. So here's the two last few small ones. Again, that looks like a planet to me. Beautiful. Same with this one, and I didn't stir this one, you can tell, because you get a very different effect when you don't stir it. But let me know in comments, which ones do you prefer? This one is kind of almost like a flower effect. I love that. Oh, wow. Look at that. That is like, I don't know, a rainbow highway in a galaxy. That is just beautiful. That light feathering effect, that ribbon effect, those colours, perfection, I think that. Right, and I think we've done these two small ones. Moving on to the big ones. Wow, look at that for a colour combo. Pinks, blues, oranges, yellows, and that little light feathering. Like that. Is this going to be the best piece? Wow, look at that. Absolutely beautiful with that fine feathering, Again, that'll make an amazing pendant. And don't forget, that was just the 25%. Now, hopefully these will give us the best of both worlds. No blobs. And this was the 50% mixture. So we're hoping to get slightly more pronounced Petri. So these little ones are interesting. Again, not too much blobbing, to be fair. Okay, so you can see it's heavier. It's definitely a heavier Petri, but I don't have much blobbing touching the surface. Look. So again, this is kind of in between the two now, and I'm quite liking this. Let's move over here to these ones. Wow. Again, not too heavy. A little bit more pronounced than the last batch, and I do quite like it, but there's a tiny bit of blob sporing at the sides. And remember, this is just the 50% mixture. Wow, look at that. And again, we have got a slightly heavier Petri, but it's not touching the surface, so it's not blobbing in this circumstance. Again, beautiful piece. Let's go to these hearts. Focus. And again, look at that. So we've got the feathering, we've got the colours, we've got that ribbon effect in there, but we haven't got the blobs. And this was 50% of that CD put and 50% alcohol. And this was one that I didn't stir, and just look at that. It's like a coral reef. I really like that. And this is more of, again, a flower effect. And you can just see the feathering in between the leaves. Wow. That is amazing. From whites to yellows to reds, a little bit of purple in there as well. That is a stunning piece. Love that. I'm getting really excited for these last two big ones. Little bit of blobbing in that one. Look, just at the bottom. And a little bit in that one, interestingly. Right, let's look at these. Again, nice, tiny bit of blobbing. And this one, I'm not so keen on. I promise you, we are getting towards the end now. Look at that. Look at those colours together. Again, beautiful piece that. And it's a little bit heavier, but it's still not blobbing, not touching. Oh, wow. Again, look at those colours. Again, tiny bit heavier. You can see those spores approaching the surface, but they're not touching. So we're not getting the blobs with the 50%. That one, I don't know what happened. It's more ribbon than Petri. Same with that one. The teardrops don't seem to be working very well in this batch. Let's look at these squares. Again, tiny bit of blobbing in that. It's a shame because I like that. And that one. And that wasn't stirred. So it is interesting that some of these seem to be blobbing and some don't on the 50% ones. But if you look back at the 25% ones, there was none, you know, it was just that beautiful feathering effect. Not even a hint of a blob. Let's check the other square as well from this side. And again, look at that. Not a blob in sight. Perfect. So I think for me with this resin, I think I'm going to stick with 25%, maybe increase it a little bit to 30%. Look at this, and this is one of the giant ones. Beautiful piece. It's lost a bit of its shine, but I think that's the mold. What do you think? And there's this other big one. Wow. Just look at those colours all working together. So I think that's pretty much all of them. Now I've got to try and pick a favorite out of all of these pieces. I don't know, but I think I'm going to play with this a bit more. I'm going to go with about 30%, I think. And hopefully you've enjoyed the experiment. Hopefully it shows you that if you keep playing with your Petri, this I think is my favorite. If you keep playing with your Petri, your mixtures with your resin, do it your way until you get the effect that you want. And then you know the recipe. It's as simple as that. That way you're not going to be relying on somebody else's measurements. And you can always get, hopefully, a more consistent Petri effect. That has to be my favorite though, I think. The heart within the heart, because it was just meant to happen. Look at that. Stunning piece. So I'm going to have to turn all these into jewelry now. Again, love the colours on this one. So it's going to take me a while to turn these into jewelry. And if you've liked it, or if you've learned anything, do me a favour, like and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget, go and like and subscribe to Daniel Cooper's channel as well. He's amazing. And I hope you've enjoyed it. But yeah, some amazing Petri pieces we've got here. If you've liked it, go back and watch some of the other videos, and hopefully you'll learn something more about some of the techniques. But it's been a fun experiment. And I think from now on, I'm going to use 30% C deeper with my Petri effect with this particular resin. But don't forget as well, every time you change a resin, you're going to have to check the recipe for that resin to make sure you still get the same effect, because depending on how thick your resin is, your sinker is going to work differently. And this particular high gloss from Apex, it's I would say it's just under a medium viscosity. So it's not a very thick resin. And that's why, for me, I think this 25 to 30% works the best. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. I've had fun. I hope you have too. And I'll see you guys on the next video.